Coercion is a very common manipulation tactics that narcissists use all the time. In this video, I'm going to define what coercion is. I'm going to go over some examples of what narcissists typically coerce people into doing. And then I'm going to go over examples of ways that narcissists achieve this, common phrases and tactics that narcissists use in order to coerce people into doing what they want. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. So first, to define coercion. When I looked up coercion in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it said something to the effect of to coerce or to be coercing or something. So then I looked up coercing and it had three separate definitions. First was to compel to an act or choice, to achieve by force or threat, and or to restrain or dominate by force. Now, to me, coercion is a way that narcissists get people to do what they want them to do, while also keeping their own hands clean and leaving a situation in which they're still able to kind of blame things on the person they're coercing, to put the choice on the person they're coercing, to leave things open enough where they can back up and say, well, that was your choice. I didn't force you to do anything. It's a way to kind of force somebody to do something without really forcing them to do it. Now, some really common things that narcissists will typically coerce people into doing: giving up their time, their resources, and their money for the narcissist and for things that benefit the narcissist. And this will be to a point where it's detrimental to the person being coerced, where maybe this is money that the person can't afford to pay. Maybe this is the narcissist coercing somebody into investing money into something for them, where the narcissist's going to benefit from the investment and minimize his or her own risk by getting somebody else to put their money on the line. Or it might be coercing somebody into giving up their time and resources that they don't have. Time maybe that they could be spending sleeping or doing anything that might benefit the person being coerced, instead is just being spent on the narcissist. Narcissists will happily run people into the ground if it benefits them, if they can somehow coerce somebody to give up all their time and energy for whatever will benefit them. Narcissists will also commonly coerce people into cutting off relationships that are actually probably good relationships. They'll come up with all kinds of reasons and plant all kinds of ideas in someone's head as to why they shouldn't be talking to so-and-so. And narcissists can also coerce people into mistreating or betraying people in their lives, which is just another form of getting them to cut off relationships, which are actually probably good for them. And this is achieved through all kinds of manipulation, maybe lies. Maybe the narcissist will lie to somebody about what somebody said about them or what somebody did and convince the person they're coercing into betraying somebody that they now believe has betrayed them. Narcissists can also coerce you into maybe quitting your job. Maybe a narcissist that wants a partner that stays at home and doesn't work because they want more control over them. They can come up with all kinds of manipulations to get that person to quit their job. Or maybe they can coerce you into keeping a job that you hate, that's not good for you, that isn't paying you enough, or that's making you miserable, or that's really unhealthy. Or maybe they will coerce you into getting a job that they want you to have. Maybe they want you to come and work for them, so they convince you to leave a perfectly good job so that you can come work for them and be more dependent on them, more under their control. So your choice of work and where you work and the line of work that you're in can be something that the narcissist feels that they really need to control in order to control you. Narcissists will also coerce you into going against your own values, ignoring your own intuition, doing things that don't feel right, but somehow convincing you that you're just being silly or you're just making things up in your head. I think a really good but simple example of this would be how people in MLMs that get in really deep into MLMs will be coerced into contacting everybody that they know in social media, all their friends, all their family, and try to talk these people into joining the MLM with them. And this kind of tactic feels wrong, I think, to most people. I think most people feel really uncomfortable and feel like they're doing something wrong when they are messaging all their friends and family and people they went to high school with and people they barely know, trying to sell them on an opportunity. I think most people know in their gut instinctively that that's kind of slimy. There's something wrong with that. There's something intuitively wrong with trying to make money off of your family and friends. But a coercive person in an MLM that's like a guru or leader or whatever will convince you that you need to ignore that gut instinct. And I'm using this example because I just happen to know a lot about it, and I know how wrong it can feel to some people and how hard they are pushed to ignore that intuition and to really, like I said, alienate their friends and family and maybe destroy relationships, as I was just talking about earlier. Basically, it's something that just feels wrong, but you're being told that it's not wrong, that you're just making excuses, you're just listening to your fear, and that you need to go against your gut and your instincts. Narcissists that coerce people will convince people to ignore their own values, to give up on their own values, to ignore their intuition, and to adopt the values of the narcissist, to adopt whatever the narcissist says that they should do, whatever the narcissist says they should be comfortable with. Narcissists will also coerce people into going against their gut instinct when it comes to safety. I know this might sound kind of funny, but if this resonates with you, let me know in the comments. I've known more than 2 narcissists that heavily pressured me into, I guess, to keep it vague, into extreme sports, into things that I was actually really terrified to do. And that when I look back now, these were situations I was put in that were really very unsafe. And I was just being pushed and pushed and pushed in a situation in which I felt very, very unsafe. I felt like I was in mortal danger, but I was under the spell of these narcissists, and I didn't assert those boundaries, and I didn't speak up, and I didn't remove myself, and luckily I didn't die and I'm still here. But there's something about putting you in actual physical danger and coercing you into ignoring your own instincts of survival that I've seen more than 2 narcissists do. I think narcissists fail to recognize risks as they are. They greatly underestimate risks. They live in a fantasy world where nothing bad will ever happen to them, and they expect you to go along on that ride with them, and they will get very annoyed and even threaten to end the relationship if you don't take the same risks that they're willing to take. Okay, so now I'm going to go over some common phrases and tactics that narcissists use in order to coerce people into doing what they want. I'm going to go over these in the hopes that if this is something that you're experiencing, you might be able to identify this in your own life. Because I think a lot of us that get used to being treated this way, or we get used to this type of communication, we don't even see it, because this is designed to put the blame on you. This is designed to coerce you, to manipulate you, to blame yourself, and to feel like you're somehow obligated to do things that you really, really, really don't want to do, or you really, really shouldn't do. So in no particular order, One tactic that narcissists will use is they'll say something to you like, if you want to achieve this, that, or the other, then you need to do this, that, or the other. And whatever it is you want, you know, do you want to be healthy? Do you want to have a good relationship? Do you want to make money? Like the example I was using earlier about a narcissist that wants you to invest your money into something that they found or came up with. They might say something like, if you want to retire someday, or if you want to get anywhere in life, then you have to invest money in this. I mean, you can't lose. I've already laid it all out for you. Don't you want to prosper? Don't you want to retire? Of course you should do this. You're stupid if you don't do what I'm showing you to do. And then of course another tactic is the tried and true. If you really cared about me, you would do X, Y, and Z. If you really cared about us, you would invest money in this investment that I found. If you really cared about our future, if you really cared about the way that I feel, you would do whatever awful thing I'm pressuring you into doing. If you cared about how I feel, you would quit your job and come work at my company. If you cared about our future. They might also say something like, you're holding us back, or you're holding me back, or you're holding yourself back. They will really identify fear that you might be feeling, and that fear that you're feeling might be very justified, very reasonable, and something that you should listen to, but they'll find that fear and then they'll make you feel bad about it by saying something to the effect of, listening to your fear and honoring your fear and recognizing that your fear might be reasonable is something that's holding you back, or holding me back, holding us back. Because of you and your silly fears and your inability to move forward in life, you're going to make it difficult for both of us. We're not going to be able to retire because you're just a scaredy cat. Another common tactic is saying something like, stop making excuses, when really excuses are reasons. I think it's really important to identify the difference between an excuse and a valid reason not to do something that you really don't want to do, or you really don't feel good doing. So whenever somebody says to you that you're making excuses, or that sounds like an excuse, I mean, maybe you are making excuses, but I think anytime somebody says that, that should be a red flag, and that should be an opportunity for you to stop and think, okay, am I making an excuse? Or is this really a valid reason that I'm giving to this person? Anyone that brushes off valid reasons for you not to do something and calls them excuses is manipulating you. Another method of coercion that narcissists can use is saying something like, I do so much for you, or my family does so much for you. You know, maybe they're trying to coerce you into making Thanksgiving dinner for their whole entire extended family of 50 people all by yourself. I don't know. And they might say something like, my family does so much for you, and all I ask is that you make Thanksgiving dinner for all 50 of them with 2 days notice. After everything they've done, that's the least you could do to repay them. And then of course, you know, after everything I do for you, how much I support you, how much I give you, and I'm only asking you to do this one little thing. How selfish can you be? Or another coercion tactic would be to bring up people from the past or present and say, she, he, they would never give me trouble for this. My ex-girlfriend would always invest in my stupid ideas. My mom always cooked dinner for all 50 people in her family all by herself. My friends never give me trouble for whatever. Comparing people, triangulating you, and making you feel like you're a failure, or that something's wrong with you because you're not doing this thing that the narcissist wants you to do because other people have done it and they've been just fine. Maybe they'll even bring up other people that have done what they want and were greatly rewarded for it. You know, my ex-girlfriend invested in this stupid investment idea I have and she made $1 million. Another tactic they might use is to say something like, this isn't what I signed up for, or you promised me that you would do whatever. When really they're kind of twisting the truth a little here. They're reversing a bait and switch. Maybe before you moved in or married them, maybe you looked around their house and you said something like, oh, I sure would like to decorate this room a little differently. I would really like to choose the color to put on this wall. You know, there's lots of things I'd really like to do in this room. And then after you get married or move in, now the narcissist expects you to be an interior decorator and just completely remodel the entire house all by yourself. And the narcissist is like, I thought you said you wanted to decorate in here. I thought you said you wanted to make this your own. That's part of the reason that I agreed to have you move in with me, and now you're backing out. Oh, now it's a bait and switch. That's not really what you wanted to do. And you're kind of left thinking, I did say I wanted to decorate this room, but is that what? I don't remember exactly what I said. That's not quite what I meant, but I don't want to be a liar. I don't want to be somebody that goes back on my promises. And if I gave him or her the wrong idea, I better make good on this somehow. Another really insidious tactic that narcissists use for coercion is to say something like, you need to prove to me that I can trust you, or you need to prove to me that you're really serious about whatever, that you're really serious about this job, or that you're really serious about our relationship. And then of course give you a task that will prove your loyalty or how serious you are or how trustworthy you are. And it's really hard to say no to whatever awful thing that they want you to do when that is the way that you can prove yourself, you know, especially if you're in a really vulnerable situation, especially if this is maybe a workplace situation where you're in a job, you really need this job, and your boss is saying something like you need to prove whatever, your loyalty or how serious you are by doing this awful thing. I mean, it's really hard to say no to something like that. And of course, in a romantic relationship, same thing. You know, you need to prove that you really care about this relationship. It kind of goes back to the, if you really cared about me, you would do X, Y, and Z. And they can really say anything. And it makes it 100 times harder to say no to things that you're really uncomfortable doing. Another tactic that I've seen is the martyr tactic. I am a martyr. An example would be if they expect you to, I don't know, stay up for 3 days without sleep because they want you to work on some project with them that benefits them. And they might say something like, when I was doing whatever, I didn't sleep for 3 weeks, and I climbed to the top of a mountain and I cut my legs up and I still have scars on my legs, and I dehydrated myself and I went to the hospital and I almost died, and I did it all for this company or whatever, and you can't even stay up for 3 days without sleep. It's this whole, I'll run myself into the ground. I've done it before. I've given up everything. I've lost all my friends. I've lost everything precious to me. I am inches from death, and you're complaining? You can't do this one little thing for me? You can't give up one night of sleep? You're tired? You want to go to bed? Narcissists love to have martyr stories. And I think sometimes narcissists put themselves through awful things and deprive themselves of sleep and put themselves in dangerous situations and run themselves into the ground so that they can turn around and tell you what a lazy piece of crap you are and how weak you are and how come you're not willing to torture yourself after everything that they've put themselves through. And then of course another tactic they use is the, I can't do this alone. How can you just leave me to do this all by myself? I didn't think that you would just abandon me and leave me hanging. You know, like narcissists will get involved in some of the most harebrained, unethical, unsafe, ridiculous, risky situations, and then they'll expect you to go along with them and maybe even put more skin in the game than they have. And then they'll act like you're somehow abandoning them or betraying them if you have reservations about doing these kinds of things. So what I wish I had really known decades ago was anything that feels wrong to you, that feels uncomfortable, that feels unsafe, anything that scares you, is something that you have a right to sit down and think about, to sit down and decide, no, I don't want to do that thing. I don't want to swim across a river. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't want to send out 100 text messages to people that I went to high school with asking them to invest in my pyramid scheme. I don't feel comfortable doing that. That doesn't feel right to me. Something feels off about this. Something doesn't feel safe to me. People that respect you, that care about you, people that actually care about your future, about your mental health, about your feelings, aren't going to coerce you into doing things that cause you pain. People that care about you aren't going to coerce you into destroying relationships that you value, relationships that are good for you. People that care about you aren't going to pressure you into doing things that are risky if you don't feel safe doing them. They're not going to guilt you and make you feel like you're doing something wrong, or make you feel like you have a character flaw because you have reservations about something that really isn't a good idea. People that care about you aren't going to accuse you of making excuses when you're really giving valid reasons that you're truly concerned about. People that care about you are going to care about the things that scare you. They're going to care about the things you don't feel comfortable doing. And this really comes down to boundaries. People that care about you aren't going to pressure you into doing things that you don't feel safe or comfortable with, but people that do pressure you, people that don't respect your fears and your concerns, are people that you really need to learn to assert boundaries with. Narcissists will trample all over the boundaries of somebody that hasn't learned how to assert them or is too afraid to assert them. It really comes down to when a narcissist is coercing you and pressuring you into ignoring your fears and doing things that you're uncomfortable with. You need to get to a point in your life where you're more uncomfortable breaking your own values or ignoring your own fears than you are offending the narcissist. Offending the narcissist in your life can be something that's really scary or something that you're really, really uncomfortable doing. And you really need to get to a point where you are willing to offend a narcissist in order to honor your own values and your own boundaries. And I think that that's a real goal that we all need to work on in order to heal from narcissistic abuse. To get to a point where we don't care what someone thinks enough to betray ourselves, to make them happy by doing things that make us feel uncomfortable or things that we know we shouldn't be doing or that we really, really, really don't want to do. We need to not be afraid to say, no thanks, I'd rather not do that. And we need to know within ourselves that we have the right to say no to people, that we're not a bad person for telling somebody that I'm not comfortable with that, thanks. There is nothing wrong with telling somebody, I don't think I'm interested in that, or, oh, I'm good, you can go ahead, but I'll just stay right here. That is not a crime. That is something you have a right to do. That's your autonomy. And anyone that pushes back on that can't accept that, is not someone that you should spend more than 2 seconds worrying about. And that's really just a good target to aim for, to get to a place where you have enough confidence in yourself and you have enough respect for yourself to say, my no means no, and I don't care enough about what somebody else thinks to turn my no into a yes because I'm afraid of what somebody else is going to think or how they're going to react. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.